If you looked at it as a traditional model, you'd be making like maybe 30% of what I make on that building monthly now.
Hi everybody, today I'm with a good friend, Pamela Bardhi, local real estate investor. Thank you for making it to the office. Tell everybody that's watching who you are, what do you do?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction. And it's so awesome to be here. And you forgot to mention fellow Albanian. Albanians watching, you know as is. We come from the same country, for all those who don't know. My parents came to this country when I was 5. By the time I was 10 years old, my dad bought a restaurant. Started working at the restaurant when I was 10. Was then running the restaurant by the time I was 18. And then when I was about 21 years old, I had 2 restaurants of my own that I owned and operated, plus I had my father's restaurant in the back.
Why jump into real estate?
Well, I think there's been a few things with that, right? So I had my 2 restaurants, and then plus I was managing my dad's on the back end. And so what was happening was I was working 13 to 15-hour days. So it was just nonstop. And I just remember, like, I was seeing real estate developers coming into my restaurants. And I was like, are these dudes like drug dealers? Like straight up, who are they, right? Like, what do they do? And that they can take vacations whenever they want, drive the nicest cars, look super sharp, and like have time, which is something that I didn't, because I kept on thinking about, I'd be sitting there working. And I kept thinking, I'm like, wow, I'm 21 and I can handle this now. But what happens when I want to settle down and I want to have kids and stuff? I can't be working 13, 15. It's just not sustainable, right? How many sandwiches, pizzas, whatever else do I have to sell to make $100K net on a deal? When I decided to go into real estate investing, one of my biggest things was this. I didn't have my own capital.
Yeah,
I was in debt, actually, from my 2 restaurants. So, like, there was no way.
Most people think that you need to have all that money to start, right?
No.
You don't.
Right. No, you don't. Right. Exactly.
Like you don't.
And so for me, what I had to do was I wanted to hire a coach, because what do you do to hack any system when you get into...
Hire a coach.
And you're going to learn from...
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. And this person's already been there, done that. Learn everything and go from there. So having a coach, I think, gave me a lot of confidence.
It gives you the confidence. Yeah. It's like you're not alone. They know what they're doing. You just run with it. You just got to execute on what they tell you.
Right. After I got to a certain level within my career, like I was 27 when we hit Forbes and Time magazine, which was crazy. It threw me off course a bit, because I got to a certain level that I was like financially free. Things were amazing. Things were great. I've been so intrinsically motivated by money for so long. And now I'm like, wow, I'm in this position of power now. And like what real estate has done for me, I want to help other people get there. This year is the year that I finally transitioned into like more of the coaching and consulting end, because I want to be more on the impact side, really focusing on helping people, giving them the resources and the tools on how to invest and all of that. Real estate is amazing, don't get me wrong, but you can get overwhelmed so easily, because you could do this and you could do that and you could do this and you could do that. It's like your mind is spinning, and when you're not in the industry, right. The best investors and developers that I know are the ones who have a niche in a specific location. The riches are in the niches. I will never forget this. Anytime that I deviated from what I knew, money was lost. Right. I saw the appreciation in the Boston market, and I knew the Boston market like the back of my hand. So I was like, focus on one location and one specific type of asset. Yeah. Do that extraordinarily well. When you have multi-millions that you can go out there and risk, then you can step a little bit outside your zone.
Small projects, maybe cosmetics in your backyard, in your area. Yeah. It's huge, right?
And then scale up.
And then you can scale it up from there, because you're all about scaling. Yeah. So let's talk about how can people fix and flip the right way. You can fix and flip homes multiple different ways, but how can they make it work so they're profitable? So like for me, I kept going to all these seminars. I kept going to all these things. This was before I had the coach. Like, this theory is great. I get it. You can make a lot of money in flipping houses, but like, how do I do step by step by step? Show me how to do it. Once I have that down, I can run with it. I can fly with it, right? So this formula is designed for renovating any property, and then you could choose to flip it at the end, or you could hold it. How are you going to take it from crap to make it really beautiful and like cash flowing, or a perfect deal to sell? So for me, it was like identifying what sandbox are you going to play in? What's your location? From there, you're going to identify your budget. From there, you're going to identify your asset class. After that, it's how are you going to source that deal? How are you going to find that deal, right? My favorite part.
And right? I know, the lead generation, right? So how are you going to find these amazing deals? Like when I first started, so my family still had the restaurant for a long time. So I literally would put a QR code where people would scan it. And I'm like, I'll show you what your property's worth. Just like scan it. Or I had the pizza boxes that were like, I will buy your house. And I'll never forget, like my dad would laugh so hard. Bardhi. Like, because people would come in and they're like, who's this? Oh, that's my daughter. And then, then they would laugh.
We sell pizzas, but also buy houses.
Perfectly marketing, but it's like, that's your local market. Like your local town is going to be eating at the pizza shops, the restaurants and this. So the more integrated you get into that community that like the back of your hand, the more people are going to know, okay, this person is a player in my market. After that is just finding your location, then sourcing the deal. And then after you source the deal and you find it, for example, like before I put pen to paper on anything, I ran all my numbers to make sure, okay, our profit margin with a contingency was at minimum 75K. That's what we had budgeted. And and so I'm like, okay, well, this is a great deal. Like, there's a huge contingency clause in here. This is great. And then we move forward. Then we funded the deal. It's funny. Once you have the deal all set up and the numbers work, it's very easy to find money to fund it. Then it goes heavy into the project management, the team that you need to really execute a flip, because somehow people tend to forget that a flip is a renovation project, right? And that means construction. Like, I remember in the beginning, I was like, what do I do first? And they're like, demo. I'm like, okay, then after demo, what happens?
Right.
And they're like, I'm like this little kid, like soaking in all the information, but it was all new to me, right?
Yeah. And we're not in construction, right? That's not our background.
You could use this formula. It's not just for flips, but you can also do it long term. It's really for any value add property. If you can learn how to get creative with a property, you will make money forever. Like in real estate, there's just opportunities everywhere. Renting out your yard to dogs. Like, people rent out their pools now, which is great. Like, just the real estate's getting insane. And as we're getting into fractionalization of real estate and blockchain and all these things, you can now own pieces of property. The more creative you can get, the more experiences that you can create, the more money that you're going to make at the end of the day. In this day and age, there's ways to fractionalize and make income from every single element of your property. When I was looking at the property, I looked at all the dynamics. This is why it's so important for you to know the market that you're playing in, know your sandbox, right? Because I know in Brookline specifically, you have Boston University, Boston College. There's always movement. There's hospitals nearby. There's everything. And so I'm thinking about all of this, and I'm like, the demand here would be pretty high, I think, because I had seen before I renovated the building, the tenants that were coming in, they would always be subleasing with each other. And I hated that. It made me so mad. I'm like, no, you're not going to be here for 3 months or 2 months or whatever. And then I was like, wait a minute. If they're only coming for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe there's an opportunity there. Right. So after I got renovated the whole building, I was like, you know what? What about if we were to furnish this thing? Bring your laptop and your clothes, and that's it. Thank you very much. And then I started exploring different options. And so it's interesting, like through my network, I actually interviewed someone on my podcast, and we started getting into conversation. And she's like, he does medium-term rentals. And I was like, well, let's check it out. And they manage it and they do everything for you. They just take over the property and that's it. So I looked at the forecasts and I was like, oh, this is way higher than a typical cash flow. Yes, it's a little bit more upfront cost with me doing the furnishings. But in the long term, that thing is a cash cow. You got to get creative a little bit. But once you do, you can maximize your cash flow like it's nobody's business. And it's so cool to see things like that. But it's like, if you looked at it as a traditional model, you'd be making maybe 30% of what I make on that building monthly now. And it's like, when you look at a deal, you can get really creative. That's where the magic happens.
I love that. And that's why I wanted you to mention, you can do the same thing on flips. You can get creative on, but you got to stop and think that way, right? Right. To really get those returns up there. No, that's, and I got that property manager contact from you. Yeah. So now on our Brookline building, we're doing the same thing. So it's amazing. So when can people find out more about you? How can they reach out? Yeah. So actually, because you're super special to me, honestly, just DM me when you see this and just say we'll just put it in a code hey, I watched you with Enis. My team will just send out the book to you. It's all good. I really believe in giving. I'm a giver. Perfect. And so I really want that on the show notes and people can download it. Yeah, exactly. That's so awesome. We'll just click on the link and just download that. And that's my free gift to your audience for sure. The Underdog Show, is that the podcast title or I butchered that? No, you got it. Yeah, the Underdog Show. That's right. Instagram, what's the... So everyone can just reach out to me. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Okay. LinkedIn, everywhere, just Pamela Bardhi, just focus on my name there, and I'm always posting all the new episodes and all that good stuff. So awesome. Thank you for being here. Everyone watching, if you have any comments, questions for Pam, comment below and hopefully we'll answer those. Catch you guys on the next one.